Fuck Santa.
Greg Fitzdog Fitzsimmons in studio, going to be at the Punchline this Thursday through Saturday, November 6th, and that is in San Francisco, California. Good to see you, Fitzdog.
Good to see you. If I'm a little fuzzy, there was a Grateful Dead concert last night at the Hollywood Bowl that I attended after taking a fistful of some of the fine fungus that the
nice
California has to offer.
Let's talk about that.
Well, you would have loved it. I mean,
first off, who comprises the Grateful Dead these days? Obviously, Jerry's gone.
Jerry's gone. Bob Weir is still there.
Is Pigpen gone?
Pigpen died in the 70s.
The 70s. Just answer the question. Did he perform last night or not?
But they did a hologram thing. They brought him out. I mean, it's the Grateful Dead, don't forget.
Yeah, Dead and Company is what they're called now.
And then Mickey Hart, is that his name? He plays drums. He was still there. They all, and it's so funny because they all have on big headphones now.
Oh, right.
Because they're probably all half deaf, and it's probably making the music louder so they can hear it. And but then you got John Mayer, who comes in and, fell in love with. He heard a Grateful Dead song. I forget which song it was. 10 years ago, and kind of fell in love. I mean, he's a master guitar player. And, he started out as kind of a poppy guy, but he has real cred. He's played with a lot of amazing artists over the years, a lot of blues guys, B.B. King, and all fell in love with him. And he brings new life to the Grateful Dead.
Is that an L.A. thing, or is he on tour with them?
Oh, he's been touring with them for years.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah. And so he basically is taking over Jerry's part, and but just, it's every type of American music on one stage at one time. It's like country, it's rock, it's jazz, it's blues, bluegrass. It's all kind of comes together, but the crowd is why you're there. 20,000 people that are all tripping. They're all dressed for Halloween, and everybody's loving each other. All you got to do is look at somebody, and they just, they want to be your friend. It's amazing.
You think they're all on mushrooms? Edibles, mushrooms?
The other big thing this year is you walk up, I guess it's, what street do you walk up to get to the Hollywood Bowl? Highland, I guess,
Highland,
You walk up Highland, and it's just dudes with giant nitrous oxide tanks.
Oh my God.
And they have balloons, and the sidewalk is littered with balloons, and they're just I don't know what they're selling for, probably $5 a pop. They fill up a balloon.
Well, what'd you pay? I guess we could figure it out. You bought 2, set you back how much?
Greg's a generous tipper.
Yeah. Well, and the refill, because you already bought the balloon, so the refill's only 4.
And they're selling them as balloons, but it's really they're selling them as nitrous hits.
Oh yeah, and it's
those brain cells don't come back.
No, that is a scorched earth policy.
God damn.
The thing about the nitrous balloon, have you ever done that, Gina?
Yes.
Brian?
No, not even close.
The thing about the
You never did
Don't get all judgmental with not even close.
No,
you can just
it's not
say
something
no.
I'm interested in.
You can just say
it's not
no.
something for people.
I guess Brian didn't go to college anyway.
Right. Now that we all feel diminished, man.
I guess Brian's never walked past the dairy section in the freezer.
That's right.
You never did a whip it with the... Okay. So...
I would never.
Here's the thing.
I wouldn't lower myself.
We get it.
You have tailgated, though.
Oh, yes, many times.
Oh, that's the trash.
The thing about tailgating is you go out and catch your buzz in the parking lot, but you can bring it into the stadium.
Right.
The thing about doing the nitrous balloon out in the parking lot, 10 steps later, you're sort of back to where you were. You know what I
you're
mean?
worse than where you were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you don't carry... Take the mushrooms and then feel the mushrooms come on in the middle of the
for
whatever.
5 hours. They last for 5 hours.
And tailgate, carry your buzz in. The nitrous, it gets you...
The half-life isn't
It gets you high for the time you're doing it.
For the time you're inhaling.
By the time you find your seats, you're not carrying the same nitrous high.
That's
no, and there was a guy, I was standing next to this guy who had come to the show alone, which I think a fair number of people do. And I've noticed that. I don't know if you've noticed that with stand-up comedy shows, but people.
You've been noticing more solos in the audience.
I think because a lot of people listen to the podcast and then they come out to the show, and so they're not.
It's
they
their
listen to the podcast.
thing.
Right. So this guy's standing next to me, and he's like the Grateful Dead fans have. Some of them, they sound like Dawson, like they've got the voice and they're like really super committed. And they're kind of aggro, even though they're peaceful at the same time. And so this guy's standing next to me, he's dancing to every song. And I mean, like a song will come on and they'll be like, oh my God, Bertha, they haven't played this since 1986 in San Antonio. And, you know, singing every word. And then I had a joint. And so I offered it to him. And he goes, no, man, I'm sober. And I go, good for you, man. Good for you. And then I judge him, and I hand it to somebody else. And then I tell my wife that I go, this guy's sober. Can you fucking believe it? And so then this guy comes up to him, and this guy's got on he's got a steal your face tattoo on his neck, and which I don't think was a Halloween costume. I think it was a commitment.
Permanent.
And he was like ragtag deadheady guy, and he comes up to our row, and he sees me, he's like, hey man, and they start just grooving to the songs together. And then my wife taps me on the shoulder and she points at him. He's got a fatty and he is sucking on that thing like it's life support. He took like 7 hits of a joint. I'm like, I guess that's all it took.
Oh. Friendship.
Well, you're a sober guy too, so I don't know how
I'm
California sober.
California sober. High and dry.
How do the mushrooms,
Nice.
how do you know, the thing about the mushrooms is, I don't know if they've worked this out, but it wasn't an exact science back when I took mushrooms a few times, you know. It was a Ziploc bag with some mushrooms, some stems, and some mushroom heads in there, and it was sort of like, how much should we take? Right. And you didn't really know.
Trial and error.
Yeah, and the thing is if you went over, then it could be tough. But if you went under, you just got a mouthful of muck for no good reason.
Right.
So how do you regulate? How do you figure that out?
Well, I went very technical. I was backstage at the Comedy Store last weekend, and a guy named Skippy came up to me with a jar of mushrooms. He had a backpack filled with jars of mushrooms, and I don't know how you manufacture mushrooms. I think you grow them out of, mud in a dark place.
Yeah.
And he makes them, but he's got a company. I mean, this is the new. If you think you missed the boat on investing in marijuana, get into mushrooms because it's become legal in like 3 states now, and it's shown to help people tremendously with depression and a bunch of other ailments. And so this guy is starting a legitimate company. So he gave me one. He goes, "This is an eighth." I go, "How much do I take?" He goes, "Well, about 1 gram is good. An eighth is 3.5 grams." So he's like, so take 1 gram out of the. So I ate the whole thing, and because I figured
you took the whole eighth.
I took half of it first. And then
1 3/4 grams or something like that
before the show, and then which was kind of great because then when I walked in, I was just like, all of a sudden there was a sea of costumes before the show started, and I was loving it. And then it started to dip a tiny bit. So right as the music started, I took not the entire other half, but I took a bunch more, and that carried me through really nicely.
That's good. I love that you started out by saying this was a technical thing, and then you said, I just took a bunch.
Are you seeing trails? Are you hallucinating at all? What are you doing?
Well, Dawson has Uggs on, and I'm not sure if that's a hallucination or if that man actually is wearing Uggs on his feet.
You're not seeing things.
So he's wearing Uggs. So,
yes.
But there's a point with, and I don't know, what does the comedic mind do with mushrooms? Because when I got really high on mushrooms for the first time, I was probably 19 or 20, and it sort of unlocked some comedic thoughts in my head. It kind of opened things up, but it wasn't really like I was writing jokes down or anything. I was
Red turn arrows. This thing suck.
Yeah. I was just looking at society going, it's weird. I've told it a few times, but I was just watching TV and like I saw 2 commercials. I saw a monster truck jam is coming to the Coliseum, and it was back when the big monster trucks, and it was just monster trucks smashing smaller cars. And I was like, it's kind of interesting that as a society, we like to see giant trucks just beating the shit out of Camrys and Hondas. You know, I mean, there's something weird and representative about a society that apply. You know, people stand up and start cheering when the truck Bigfoot is just mash that Honda Accord. Like, too bad there's not a family in there. You know, and we're like cheering. It's like
there's a baby on board sign on the Toyota.
Yeah, got the gay flag license plate frame. Like, kick this shit out of that Camry.
Yeah, coexist this motherfucker.
That's right. And I was like going, now, if I wasn't high on mushrooms, it'd just be another commercial that I wasn't paying too closely attention to. But I saw that, and then the next commercial came on was Lee press-on nails, and it was the wife very upset that she chipped a nail before her and her husband were heading out to dinner.
Right.
And she had found a Lee press-on nail and pushed it on. But it was the idea of these red, bloody claws that we're adhering to the top of our fingernails.
Talons.
And it was like, why is this a thing? Like, why are we attracted to the bloody red claw? But this is all through the eyes of the mushroom.
Right.
That has infiltrated my comedic brain.
No, I think it is good for comedy. I took mushrooms one time in college in Boston, and there was a bar called Our House that was like that was our place, and it was a pretty well-known bar in Boston. And so we're sitting there, and it was closing time, and they were kicking us out, and I'm peaking in my mushroom trip, and I go, wait a minute. We're in our house.
Right.
How about another one of our beers?
Right.
You know, and then we got to split up our tips.
Right.
It's good to be home. And so I just I went into this 30-minute thing about Our House, and I ended up putting it in, and I had just started doing stand-up, and that was like my opening bit in my stand-up routine for years.
Yeah, because it does what it. So I guess what it does. So I guess if we really just distilled it down to the sort of comedic mind versus the non-comedic mind, the comedic mind, you know, maybe it's Seinfeld and he's noticing everything all the time. Like, you ever notice? You ever notice? And if you really think about, like, the comedians get up there and they go, do you guys ever notice that every time you travel and blah, 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 ever notice?
Yeah,
and the reality is, if you talk to non-comedic minds, they never notice. You know, you go, you've seen that commercial, but I don't know what you're talking about. You've seen this, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you never know. So what the mushrooms do is they get you to really notice. And when they put it in a mind that's already noticing a ton of shit, now you're in kind of notice overload.
Right.
I don't know if you experience it that way.
It just has more intense meaning.
Right.
You know, like you can see something that you've seen a million times, and all of a sudden it's like an epiphany. Like there's something, you know, like my wife was there and just, you know, had some beautiful moments of just feeling close to her and dancing with her and, you know, things I haven't felt in 20 years. No, I'm kidding. I really need drugs, honey.
Very confessional.
And so you're tripping, kind of, but you're not to the point where you're seeing trailers.
No, it wasn't like that. No. But I think it's also when you're at a Grateful Dead show, you will feel like you're tripping even if you're not.
That's a good point.
Right.
So you don't really feel the drugs as much. You just kind of become a part of it. And like there's this one song that goes, you wake up to find out that you are the eyes of the world. And and it's one of the biggest refrains in the entire concert. The 20,000 people are all singing it together, and there's a video screen with a giant eye, you know, and, like the one on the dollar bill that's like
Illuminati.
The Illuminati eye comes up, and you can't not suddenly feel like you're with 20,000 people that are meant to be with you at this moment doing this thing.
Wow.
Now, here's something that's important, I realize, especially if you're going to do mushrooms. The person you bring to the concert, in this case, your wife, right?
Well, I went with, there was 7 of us.
Oh, okay. They got to be into it. Because
they're all huge fans.
Mike Lynch brought me to a Fish concert
Oh,
once.
no.
And I think I harshed his mouth big time because...
I can't see you at a Fish concert.
Did you have thoughts about it?
Well, you know, once the jam went on for, you know, about the 29th minute of the first song, he could see me sitting there with my arms folded looking at my phone, and I think I fucked his high up a little bit at the Fish concert. So you have to make sure the wife and whoever's with you is down. You want to bring Sean Hannity or something.
Right.
He's in a three-piece suit. He's got an American flag on his lapel.
Yeah.
He's checking his watch every 10 seconds. You're rolling on mushrooms, trying to get your groove on with the dude in the doobie next to you.
Yeah.
So your wife's into it too.
She's
did you
super
get
into
her into it, or did she get you? Or what are the chances of you two both being into it?
Did you meet at a Dead concert?
Is that where you met?
No. My wife is a very she grew up in New York City and she went to a lot of concerts and we go to concerts a lot together. She's just a very in the moment, present, kind of joyous person, very connected, and so it doesn't matter. My 6 other friends are dead people that have seen 100 shows. So they are singing every word and that was amazing. But no, she just went with the flow. But there was this one great old couple that showed up, and the guy had on a yellow and green loud suit. With matching shoes, and it had ducks on it. And it was just one of those things you go all right, where does that live the other 364 days of the year? And so he's with this woman, and she's got on this flowing dress. She looks like Stevie Nicks, and they're in their 70s, and they have beautiful gray hair, and they're clearly tripping, and they're grooving. And then at halftime, she fucking flatlined. She just went down, and the medics came with a stretcher. Not even a stretcher. At the Hollywood Bowl, it's a tarp. It looks like a fucking body bag. And they put her in a sheet, like a tarp, and they just picked up, there was 6 of them, and they just each picked up a corner and dragged her out.
It's a hockey bag.
Guy in the duck suit, see you at home, honey.
Oh,
they
my God.
stayed.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Paid good money
Not
for
their
those
first
tickets.
time at the dance.
Wow.
Well, she's
Yeah.
a lightweight. Clearly, he knows it.
Yeah. She's been doing this for 50 years to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did they cover some songs in the mix?
Yeah, they did. What's the Buddy Holly song?
That'll be the day.
Peggy Sue.
No. Yeah, they do. I mean, technically, they're all covers because this
That's
is Dead
true.
and Company. It's not the
Right.
Grateful Dead, so they're all. But no, they do. I can't think of too many covers they did last night. It seems like a lot of originals.
They
did,
played the hits. They did
They played the
Sugary
hits.
and Ripple.
They
and
did St. John's Band. What is it?
Oh,
Uncle John's
Uncle
Band.
John.
Uncle John's Band.
Yeah, I love that song. By the way.
Sugar Magnolia.
Sure.
And
They do Touch of Grey stuff.
They did Touch of Grey.
Wow, listen to you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They
Was it
Casey Jones.
The biggest hit?
They didn't do Casey Jones, but I was dressed in ready for this?
Yes.
I had on pinstripe overalls with the trained engineer hat matching
Nice.
Casey Jones.
for Casey Jones, and I was not the only one. I took a series of photos of other Casey Joneses
that's
at the
great.
concert.
Let's
Yeah.
break down the ethnicity of the crowd. Now,
be a
I'm
short
guessing a
conversation.
lot of honkies there, but it could be a couple. I was like, all right, probably not a lot of black folk there, but where were we with the Asians and the Hispanics? Did you notice any of that in the crowd?
Any Persians?
Any Persians?
No, it's very white. There were some black people, not a lot. It was very white, but the age range was kind of cool because there were people that brought their kids, like 10-year-old kids.
Fitzdog told me he talked to some of the black people at the concert. He said things like, "Is the tip included?" And
Sure.
no, I didn't get the nachos, but I can hand them down.
Oh, boy.
He was able to talk to some people of color.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. But it was people that brought their kids. Because imagine being 10 and now you're 50 and you get to say, I saw the Grateful Dead. I mean, none of your friends got to see this. And they are, I'm telling you, they sound, I saw the Stones 2 weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
And I'll say the same thing about the Stones. As good as ever.
Really?
Amazing.
It's really insulting to Charlie Watts.
Did you?
It is.
Is he still alive? Did you guys? Where did you see him at SoFi?
Yeah.
And they sound every bit as good as they ever did.
2 hours and 15 minutes, and Mick Jagger did not stop the entire time. It was like he was looking at the crowd going, who's fucking old? Who's old? Me?
Any brown sugar controversy?
There was
Because
no brown sugar played that night.
they are not playing brown sugar anymore.
No.
But you wonder if the crowd is gonna want a little brown sugar. Like if there's anybody yelling out, play the brown sugar. I mean, it's definitely one of their big concert
I think the
hits.
3 black people at the show were yelling it out.
When I saw them, I don't know, 5 years ago, whatever, when Desert Trip, remember that? When it was basically on the polo fields where Coachella is. Yeah, he fucking killed it. And they had one of his backup singers just crush Gimme Shelter.
Gimme Shelter.
Did they do that?
Yeah, this girl came out. She got a standing O. It was it was chilling how great it was.
Did anybody sit in with them?
No, I mean the new drummer is this guy Steve Jordan, who's played with like a lot of the great. I think he was the Blues Brothers drummer, and he pounded it out. He was really like, not to say he was better than Charlie. It was just a different energy. It was like a much stronger beat, but he didn't overplay it. He played it simple like Charlie would. But no, nobody came out.
I wonder if that's because you hear about the Foo Fighters and, hey, this guy sits in or jumps up or whatever.
You're in L.A. too.
And it's fun and you're in L.A., but you wonder if the Stones are a little more like were the Rolling Stones and
no, they do it. As a
songs?
matter of fact, someone was telling me last night that John Mayer used to play with the Stones once in a while. He would drop in and play with them.
Hey, Steve Jordan was part of the Saturday Night Live band.
Oh, no kidding.
Apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Stones are famous for always having, back in the day, great opening bands. Guns N' Roses opened for them. They were coming up to have an opener this time.
Prince, I think, opened.
They had a Aerosmith back in the day. A series of
I
bands.
think the
on
Stones
become
had a
huge.
band, but fucking getting into the SoFi Stadium and parking, it took like an hour. We missed the opening band. And getting out you literally pulling out of SoFi Stadium, we sat in line with the car in park for 40 minutes.
Fuck
Yeah.
that.
It's brutal.
Is a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
So I think I saw somebody got me tickets to Stone Steel Wheels back in the late 80s.
I went to that.
Yeah,
show.
late 80s, yeah.
And I think Prince opened
really?
for them.
Wow.
And I think, and Chris, you got to look it up, but I think there was some controversy that Prince opened maybe at the Coliseum, maybe 88, 89, somewhere in there, and had some issues with the crowd or something. There was a Prince opening thing, and that's all I remember.
Yeah, I think
Really?
when I saw them on that tour, I think Living Color opened for them.
Oh, shit.
It was the Oakland Coliseum. I'm almost positive.
I'm seeing this tour. Living Color opened for that Dan Reed Network. Guns N' Roses and Gun were the openers for that tour. I'm not
Oh, well,
seeing
maybe it
Prince.
was Guns N' Roses, and there was some controversy. I can't remember, but either way, Guns N' Roses and the Rolling Stones. That'd be quite
the bill.
Never see that again.
Also, what the Stones did, which is cool, is they brought back a lot of blues guys to open for them over the years. Like they had John Lee Hooker and B.B. King and people like that would come open for them, and because that's where they came from. I mean, that's the roots of the Rolling Stones, and so they were reintroducing these legends to their audiences.
You think that's because they've been getting a little pressure over the years to do so?
Oh, I'm sure it's a little guilt. There's a little guilt.
Do you have to get high to watch the Rolling Stones? Mushrooms, anything of that
The Stones?
nature?
No. I mean, you know every word to every song, and you're watching guys, and like you have to keep pinching yourself and going, I'm watching the Rolling Stones right now, a band that, I mean, how many of their songs have you heard 1,000 times? And, you know, and it's the greatest live rock band of all time.
Horn section?
2 saxes.
Did they do it's a
Heartbreaker.
bitch or heartbreaker? Yeah, bitch is, I don't know. It's a bitch or bitch?
Bitch.
Probably bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Great horns.
Great horns. All right. Let me ask you this, Fitzdog, turning to your chosen field.
I feel like David Wilde today. Okay.
stand-up
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah.
I was, you guys tell me what you would do in this situation other than just be angry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have this problem, which is sometimes I'm on stage and I notice things and they drive me nuts, and then I get angry, except for you're trying to do your show. Now we all know the blender in the background or the guy's talking too loud, ordering or whatever. But you guys tell me what you would do. So we were doing, I was doing 2 shows at the Bray Improv last weekend. And it was a specific kind of show, and it was being filmed, and the format was a little different, and I was going to go up. I was going to do about 20 minutes of stand-up, and then I was going to bring out the guest and interview the guest, and then X, Y, and Z. But I was doing 2 shows, and the shows were supposed to be about an hour, 15 minutes long. And before the show, I was up on stage going over some stuff, and they had this big clock in the back, big digital clock. Now, the thing about the comedy clubs, and Fitzdog will remember this, Prince was booed off the stage opening for the Stones.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is 1981 at the Coliseum.
Oh, so it's at the Coliseum. It's for the Rolling Stones.
That's
you
a
just
Some
made me
Girls
feel like
tour.
an insane person. I'm going to go, good. I don't feel insane
Got
anymore.
a bunch of food thrown at them. They eventually had to just stop playing. Prince was crying backstage and flew home. He didn't want to play the
So
next
he's still
show.
alive?
We'll have to Google it.
He's doing okay.
Yeah, I had a strong recollection of Prince, Coliseum, Rolling Stones, and he was booed off stage. All right.
crazy.
So now,
Big clock.
I have been to every comedy club around the
By
country.
the way, how about a round of applause for just the speed of the research section here on the Adam Carolla Show?
Yeah, amazing.
Thank you.
All right, so I went to comedy clubs 10 years ago, and it was always like comedy clubs, time is a thing.
Right.
It's sort of like commercial flights. You know, they go boardings this time we're pushing back, and then they check in with you 3 hours from our destination, whatever. Comedy clubs are a lot of like, you do 15, we're going to light you at 13. When you see the light at 13, start wrapping up because you're doing 15. The MC's doing 5 at the top, then the opener guy's doing 15, then the feature's doing 20. It's like time,
Right.
with a lot of threats about don't go long,
Yeah,
don't go
you'll hear
long,
about
don't
it.
go long. And then you walk out on stage and there's never a clock you can find anywhere in a comedy club. It does not exist. Like,
Yeah.
And I would just constantly say, like, let's just take a digital clock and just put it on the thing in the back and the whatever. And then
Love when they have that.
it's hard to yell at someone, hey, when did your 13 minutes turn into 19 minutes? Well, when there's no clock.
It's like my sundial was broken.
It can happen.
Yeah.
And then I played every club, no clocks. And then at some point, clocks started showing up. And I was like, yeah, good. That's your business. It makes sense. And so I went to Brea. And they have a big digital
clock at Brea. Love it.
Big clock.
Yep.
All the way back. Big clock.
Black clock.
And I come big swinging black greasy clock back there. Oh, yeah. Big veiny.
Yeah.
And I
Last for 24 hours.
Throbbing.
So I go out on stage and I'm like, all right, it's 11:30 now. I can see it on the clock. We're going to start the first show at 1. So I kind of do we start the show at 1, or maybe we start at 1:05 or 1:03 or whatever, 1:07. Like, I think I can handle the math. It'll be 2:15. That'll be time to wrap it up, or I'll know where I'm at.
Right.
But I'm doing a set that I don't normally do, and I'm doing an interview thing that I don't normally do, and we're doing a whole bunch of format things I don't normally do.
There's no muscle memory.
So
for
I'm
it.
like, I'm going to need the clock for this. Because Fitz knows the difference between a 20-minute set and his 1-hour set and his whatever, but I was mixing and matching. So I go, all right, well, we got the clock. I can keep my eye on the clock. And then the person who runs the clock goes, oh, we'll set it to 0 and just have it go up. And I was like, ooh, even better.
Yeah.
Even better. Now, again, I'm going to walk out at 1:04. I think I could do the math when it gets to 2:10 or 2:15 that I've been on stage for an hour and 10 minutes. But if you can zero it out and just hit it when I walk on stage, that's the best of all worlds.
Sure.
So 2 shows to do, walk out on stage, start into the 20-minute set. No clock.
No clock.
Just zeros.
Yep.
Just zeros. Just zeros.
I zeroed it out.
Yeah, they only got halfway there.
Get through my first bit, look up again, zeros. And now I'm in this fucked up position because A, I'm angry because you told me you were going to do this thing. B, you could have just left it at 1. I mean, Chris, we start at 1:02 or something like that. I'd be fine if I just knew what. Now I don't know what time it is, and all I'm just staring at zeros. And it's in the back of the club, but it's big and bold. Like you can see it. And I just keep looking up going, fuck, we just had this fucking conversation. I'm completely thrown off. But I'm also like, what if they remember and start the clock?
Yeah.
How far, what I do? How far in am I? Are they going to add it to the clock? Can they add it to the clock? And I'm just staring at it, and we're filming and everything. And at a certain point, I just go, I got to stop.
Yeah.
Hey, clock person,
Hey,
got
clock
it.
person
fucked me.
who does nothing at the club to run the fucking clock. It's usually the sound guy. So here's what he has to do. turn on the sound. It's not like a band where you're mixing levels and fading things out. You're just turning on the mics and turning them off and starting the clock. That is your whole job.
And it's there's not a lot of gray area of when did the show start? It's hard to tell. It's like the lights, the music, the announcer, applause, you walk out.
There's plenty of cues.
Pretty well timed.
Start the clock.
Yeah.
Nope, no clock. So what do we do? Now, I was, of course, trying to do stand-up, but actually stewing and angry at the same time. I felt like I had no choice.
Brought anger into your stand-up?
It started to trickle in.
Yeah.
I just stopped and said, we have to stop. And we have to start the clock.
Do you ever think about working suddenly clock material into your otherwise finely honed set?
Boy, time sure is flying.
You guys ever those clocks?
What would you do, Fitz Dog?
I don't know. That's a tough one. And sometimes I'll do a show on the road. And if it's a Friday night late show, like you said, you're usually not going by the script as much. Friday Night Late Show, there's hecklers, they're tired, they're drinking, and so you do a lot of crowd work. I'll bring somebody on stage sometimes.
Right.
You do different, so you lose track of time. And then it's up to some flunky who if they don't have sometimes it's like, oh, you'll see Earl, he's gonna flash his cell phone, Meanwhile, he's got it on fucking Tinder, so it's not as bright as it would be. And he's just waving it around. You don't see it. And you end up doing like an hour and 28 minutes on a show that you really wanted to do about 52.
Right.
And you're exhausted, and you're angry, and you're confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like having sex in Thailand with a hooker.
Right. You don't know if it's a boy or girl.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Not till at least halfway through.
If that.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how much foreplay you do.
That's right.
Yeah.
Speaking about he-she's and sex, I feel like the trans community and folks that are pretty progressive in that world have set the bar a little too high when they do that thing where they go, if you don't have sex with somebody who transitioned, then you're essentially a hater.
Oh.
Meaning if you like girls and this was a boy but became a girl, or even has the male genitalia but presents as a woman, but you get home from the bar and they've still got their male junk, that you're supposed to just push through this experience.
Be a gentleman.
All the lip service in the world.
I'm all for being progressive. I think you're asking a little too much of the heterosexual community.
I think it's like the people in the classic car world where they go like, that fucking 66 Mustang, there's a new Hearst on the floor, it's got mag tire. It's not original. It's got to be all original parts or I don't drive it.
Yeah.
The serial numbers have to match.
Yeah, that's right. I want the block and the transmission and the frame to all have the same. Right,
yeah, what's with the scoop?
Matching numbers.
This was a scoop in the
factory.
factory.
I don't know. Like Fitz, could you push now? For me, obviously, if the male junk comes out when you get back from the bar, that's probably a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But what about a nicely performed transition surgery?
I mean, the new Dune movie is out. I'm going to see that. Mm-hmm. It's not the original. There's some changes.
Right.
But I think it should be an enjoyable couple
Improved
hours.
You think you could carry on?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a remake.
Maybe you guys can find this really fast. Speaking of this, remember the show Family Matters?
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Remember Eddie Winslow, the son? He was the son.
He was not Urkel.
Correct.
For everyone listening.
I swear to God. Okay, they'll find it. I just saw this photo shoot he did with his girlfriend who is trans, gorgeous, and he's kind of the out and proud ally of the community because this is his girlfriend. So I'll show you the picture in a hot second.
Scoring points with the trans community.
Sure.
Yeah.
Guys will find it.
All right.
He's gay.
Let me.
There you go.
Oh, there they
There she
are.
is.
Did you say gorgeous?
Okay.
Geez.
Feminine. Has all the parts.
She's got some
kind of a Cardi B vibe.
Cardi B
Cardi B vibe.
Yeah. That is that's a little much for me sexually, the Cardi B's. Regardless of how they started.
You have a different point of view because you also have feelings about female impersonators. Mm-hmm. Like Pamela Anderson and Don't Say Dolly.
Yeah, I don't like female
that's
impersonators.
Funny. That's funny.
Yeah, something seems weird to me about female impersonators.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
of some
And
other
Nicole
names.
Smith
Well,
would have been a great example
Smith.
back in the day.
Right.
Cardi B is kind of female
Yeah.
impersonator.
Yeah.
Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Nicki Minaj.
A classic example.
Yes,
Yeah.
a classic. All right, let me hit Simply Safe, and then we'll move on and do some news.
Jesus, this show's flying along today.
I know. Well, thank God the guy knows how to work the clock around here. Want to feel safe in your own home? Good. No better time than now. This week, our friends at Simply Safe are giving my listeners 40% off their award-winning home security. Simply Safe has everything you need. Indoor and outdoor cameras, comprehensive sensors, all monitored around the clock by trained professionals who send you help the instant you need it. Named the best home security system of 2021 by U.S. News and World Report. Easily customize a system for your home online. You can do it in minutes. Even get free custom recommendations. These are Simply Safe's biggest discounts of the year. You get a complete home security system starting at just over $100 with no long-term contracts or commitments. Offer ends soon. You take the 40% off at simplysafe.com/Adam. Do it today. That is simplysafe.com/Adam.
Yeah, my grandfather and my great-grandfather were famous admirals, and he could have, because he was like an admiral's son, they offered him early release, and he said no.
How long did he stay after they offered him the early release? Do you remember?
I think it was like 3 years. It was a while.
Yeah, not many would do that.